You're listening to Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
And welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com. Tonight, we're going to be talking normal and advocacy. But before we do that, good evening, Tamara. How you doing?
I'm okay. Al, how are you doing? Not so terrific.
Yeah, not too well. I can hear the dog growling on one side because she wants to go outside. But unfortunately, I've got issues here and I can't walk very well, so I can't get up the stairs to let her out.
Where's Gail tonight?
Gail is out.
Oh,
it's
no.
the ladies' night out, and she's out.
Yeah.
And so I'm here, just me and the dog wants out. But I've got an infection in my foot, and I can't walk very well. And she wants to go out, and I'm not going to go out to climb the stairs, 15 pairs of stairs. In any time.
Medication they have you on is like heavy duty antibiotics, like
yes,
pick line or what you've got, and they
offered me the PIC line or because I had to go to the hospital twice for it, and they offered me the PIC line or double of my medication in order to fight off the infection, cellulitis. So.
Right.
We know where that leads to, so we get on that right away.
Right, absolutely. That's dangerous, and I don't think people realize how dangerous and how quickly a blood infection can happen, and how quickly you can just be unalive. Like you can just be gone.
Yeah.
Really, it is quick. Like it can run to your heart fairly quickly, and then it's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. So we got on it right away, and. As of this morning, the swelling has started to come down. I'm actually sitting here right now with my foot elevated, not as high as the doctor would like, but I have been, laying down the majority of the day in order to keep that swelling down. So
we lost another warrior today too, Mama Hawk.
Yes, we did. Mama Hawk. I saw the posts online late this afternoon. I met Mama Hawk back in the beginning.
Me too, in 2012 when we all protested in Ottawa and Parliament Hill.
Yeah, true.
Gary Pallister, all the people that are gone now. Like I looked back today and went, like all those people that we protested on the Hill with a lot of them aren't with us anymore. Yeah.
Well, I remember, doing the events with Treating Yourself, and Cheryl would come to the booth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can remember one particular weekend, her and Gary were there with other people. And
well, that's what I mean. Like when I came out a couple times, I came to Toronto. Her and Gary were like, peanut butter and jelly, right? Like they both married other people, but they hung out. They did all their cannabis activism together because their significant others weren't involved, and they were like, peanut butter and jam, like those two. So hopefully they're all like, having a good old jam up there. But
having a big toke.
Just
exactly.
It just seems like as we've all been involved in this for like 20 years almost. Like it's 20 years. I started in 2007, right? So it's been almost 20 years.
I'd see her at all the rallies, all the protests, all that stuff, and it's sad news to see her go.
Yeah, not a way I want to start the show, but I wanted to mention that before we got too far in and I lost my track.
Yeah. All right. What do you say? Time to bring in our guest?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. At this time, I'd like to introduce our guest for tonight's program. She is a business owner and is the executive director of Canada's longest advocacy groups, or one of the longest advocacy groups, if not the longest. We'd like to welcome Jennawae Cavion.
So close. It's like Avion.
Cavion.
Cavion. Hey, there we go. I knew I was gonna mess it up. Welcome to the Pace Radio Show. Thanks for appearing on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I need Smiths and Jones.
That's okay. McLean was an easy name, and yeah, I married my partner of 13 years last year, so it's
Wow.
people got used to me as a McLean, but I like Cavion.
Yes, yes.
Those were some pretty amazing wedding pictures.
Oh, thank you.
I do remember seeing those now. Yeah. No,
Oh,
I do remember now. Okay. Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I've got your name written down here off to the side in my special language. So I'll try to get it right the next time.
That's okay, man. Whatever helps, whatever works. Jen is fine.
All right. Now, I know I get right to the beginning of the conversation, and then we'll sort of work backwards a little bit.
Sure.
And that is the fact that right now, as I mentioned, you're executive director at one of the longest advocacy groups here in Canada. And you can go ahead and mention who you're with and give us a little bit of information.
Yeah, so NORML was established in Canada in I think 1978. So the organization is older than I am, actually. So I was appointed to the board of directors a few years ago, and then in 21 I was made the executive director. So right now, our big thing that we're working on is increasing the edible limits, but we've sort of been advocating for change the whole time. This is just one of our big public outreaches at this year so far.
Good. Now, and you're doing this through petition, correct?
Yes, yeah. So we've got a lot of sort of data and letters of support and information to back up what we're asking for, which is not making seemingly anyone happy. Prohibitionists don't like that we're asking for 100 milligrams with 10 milligram servings. And of course, patients, as you know, are laughing at 100 milligrams because they're used to much higher dosages than that. So the thing is I think a fair negotiation is something where everybody's a little bit unhappy. And that's where we are, unfortunately. I would like, our original ask was unlimited because I'm a patient and have a lot of experience with what we actually need. That being said, as I get a little bit older, my tolerance has gotten a lot lower than it used to be, but even still, I'm familiar that not everybody's in the same position as I am. So,
correct.
So I think that it's only fair to ask, we've already got oil and extracts that way. But I think it's only fair, I personally hate oil. I couldn't take oil to save my life. I hate the idea of squirting something in my mouth like that. It just grosses me out. So I go with capsules a lot in that case.
I'm not a fan of that either. I'm not a fan of edibles, to be honest. It just kind of makes me sleepy and really not functionable. And I have to be able to function. So
definitely.
I'm just not. I'm not an edible girl. I like the topicals that I can get. And I've always been a smoker, and it seems to alleviate what I need to alleviate at the time. It's an instant reaction, and that works for me. So, but again, there's also the people that don't smoke cigarettes. And that's one thing I've always advocated over the years. If you don't smoke cigarettes, I'm not saying here's a joint, start smoking. Why the edible option was always a good option, but depending on how the reaction was. And a lot of people don't react well to edibles.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's also, I think, why there's such a, and always has been, that a non-understanding of what because of the time release too and how long it takes and why they've gone so low. And I understand to that point as to why they've gone so low as for safety, right? Because again, we always, and we say this over and over, this was never meant to be an industry, right? this was never meant to be a great big, industry. It was the regulations were put on cannabis for safety purposes and to keep it, regulated and tested, but not for it to blow up to being what it's being, right? So that's the regulations that were first set out in the Cannabis Act, like way back when we were doing the first rounds in 2017 and 2016 before cannabis legalization, was because of the misconception of what the dosing was, and because there was no research on dosing, why they've gone with the 10 milligrams. Now, we know as patients, we definitely need more, right?
More.
But not everybody's patient with, like, they are, but they're not. Like, the government's still not seeing that red line. They do when it comes to sales. There's a definite line of distinction between medical and recreational when it comes to the sales of cannabis.
Yeah.
But they still do not recognize cannabis as a medicine overall.
No, I think honestly they just glazed right. They skipped it.
Well, and that's why it's been so hard to get them to understand why the dosing needs to go up. Why they need to definitely distinguish medical dispensaries and recreational market. They need to have a setup specifically for medical. Period.
And the tough thing about that is, there's also a conception that there's no money in medical, so it really needs to be a labor of love, which goes back to literal compassion clubs. Like that's where they need to be integrated properly, because I don't know anybody who cares more and has more love to give and can show that it's a labor of love than compassion club operators. Like make no, I'm in the business of cannabis recreational sales. That's a completely different thing entirely.
Yep.
I mean, we have fair prices, but it's not like, the dog is still fed.
and really, like you say, you're in retail sales on the recreational end, but a lot of patients do use the stores.
Absolutely.
Because it's an access. It's an access.
You don't really have an option because, I was looking at who's the best, supplier, regular licensed producer in Canada, and it's Broken Coast. And that's who my provider was when the MMPR first came out, when we had to, send our kitty litter, our cannabis, and all that shit, right? So, so again, like I had Broken Coast was my provider, but again, even if you go into the recreational stores, they're trying to say it's recreational. Weed's weed. Like, I'm not gonna, let's like.
In this hand, it's recreational. In this hand, it's medical.
Yeah.
They order online through the legal, like through the medical side of things. Prices are the same, but you can get different strains of the medical than you can the recreational. But the medical, like even in the stores, they're still paying $200 an ounce. It's high pricing. So how is that affordable? Because it's still the same online for a patient as it is in the store. So there's no,
And that's really annoying too. Like, really, what it should be is that, okay, if they want to have recreational stores, fine, but then the government should be like supplementing that, or you should be able to write off whatever your prescription is in terms of receipts. But like insurance companies at best have a health spending account that will cover it in some ways, but not fully ever.
I've never tried to, with my husband's insurance through a strap, to actually take a receipt, because like Taven's acupuncture, I just take a screenshot of the receipt and send it off and use the bank backstage without any question. But I haven't really taken the time to see if cannabis is on the list of medications that they would cover.
Well, there's no DIN number associated with it, and that's what makes it. I don't know why there's not. Maybe because there's
too many strains.
Exactly.
Not enough information. That's
now you mentioned
decades.
You mentioned at the beginning about the prohibitionists that are against the 100 milligram
yes.
that you're requesting. Are you getting a lot of blowback on that?
From the usual sort of suspects, the pearl clutching people at CAMH are, I respect that they're trying to do things for mental health, and I respect that they're trying to protect the children. But the fact of the matter is, we had legalization through a pandemic when kids were at home the most in the last 3 years. And how many died from cannabis since legalization.
Look at the crime rate that's gone down. Look at the stats for crime rates that have reduced because of cannabis legalization. Look at the fact that how many deaths have they had for cannabis since legalization? 0. How many, even what we were talking, Ellen and I were talking about this the last show or the show before, even the impairment laws. Now they're showing that some of it has increased, but the numbers are so small and so like integrated into like small
relative to the drivers
area, right? And it's not that huge either. So the sky didn't fall, Henny Penny.
No, exactly.
No.
And that's the thing. And, you know, even it's funny, there's like a distinction between like different social media, who's saying what. So on Facebook, it's actually almost bordering on critical of 100 milligrams is not enough. We need more than 100 milligrams. And then Twitter,
I'd be good with 1,000.
That's what most people say, and that's really what it is in a lot of other legal places.
And then each piece can be 100 milligrams, or they can have like 10 pieces that all 10 milligrams, and but it all adds up to it. And it doesn't have to be 1,000. You can have different sizes of different packaging. It's just
absolutely
it opens the market. It opens the market for different in between, like from 10 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. It opens the market for people to be able to dose to themselves in small.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. And they're like, well, where's the data? I'm a retailer and I know where the data is. It's in my cash register, and it will tell you pretty quickly that when Jolts were available, they outsold all other edibles by, probably
and how many
50%,
Yeah. Like how many people got sick or, had to go to the hospital? None. Because
or none more than normal. And by the way, when they provide you the actual data about these hospitalizations and kid poisonings or whatever, when you actually look at the end result, 85% of those kids were drowsy, and 8% required no medical attention whatsoever, and 100% of them did not need their stomachs pumped, and 43% of them were, it was so like, these are all the things that could happen. Yeah, they could have a slow heart rate. They could have this or that, but that didn't happen.
It's fear-mongering. Same with pets. Like, seriously, your dog ate a roach, let it sleep it off. You're going to waste $1,000 on your dog getting some chalk stuff down its throat when it's not even going to do anything. It's going to sleep and it's going to be fine in the morning. Exactly. Right? Same with your child. Like, it's not going to, let it sleep, it'll be fine in the morning.
In a dog or a child, whatever, they're not going to understand what's going on, obviously.
Exactly. And there is a consent level to that as well. So I definitely don't love the idea of any of them dosing. But at the end of the day, that comes back down to the parents. Why are we having 100%? It's the parents' job. And by the way, it's much easier to hide one chocolate bar instead of 10. It's much easier to put away one package or whatever. But
but what at the end of the day, children need it. What about the fact that some of these kids are using it because they need it too, right?
That's a whole other. You will make their brains explode if you tell these people.
So again, what if the fact that parents are actually buying it for their autistic children? Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, of course, we can't say that out loud. It's a taboo.
I personally absolutely cannot. But yeah, but I have in the past advocated for eliminating criminalization for people under 18 getting access to cannabis, because at the end of the day, that is again the parents' job. It's just like if kids get into beer, like, can they be arrested? I guess, but like, is it worth arresting kids over having a couple beers? No.
A kid with getting caught with cannabis will still get a record. So a ticket for alcohol and a record for cannabis is two different things. Like,
absolutely. 1,000%. And it's another way to keep them in the system. And this is typically happening, it's disproportionately happening to underprivileged Black and brown kids. This isn't happening to white kids in suburban neighborhoods. It's just a way to police them and get them into the system. And it's disgusting.
Yeah, and keep tabs and give them a CSIS number and off you go, right? Like,
exactly.
So
your petition It's you're collecting signatures. I think I
Yes.
saw somewhere around 12 or 1300 where you're at, and you're over your goal, and you're still accumulating signatures. What is like you collect those signatures, and then, from my understanding, you have a sponsor
Yes.
in the federal government that's like an MP who's on your side.
Yeah. So actually, like, there's a few. Most of the MPs that are in favor of legalization are in favor of sensible regulation, and they understand the sort of, like, everybody at all levels of the government I've talked to so far understand the struggles. They understand the excise tax issue. They understand the packaging issue. They understand, province to province what the issues are. And this edible issue is a no-brainer for a lot of them. So MP Patrick Weiler, who represents BC and the Sunshine Coast, he is in the Cannabis Caucus. And our deal was that I needed to get 500 signatures in 120 days. And I managed to get that in 2 days. And I'm expecting, like, my actual goal is 5,000, but I think, we're getting on average around 200 signatures a day. And if we keep up this momentum for the full time it's supposed to be open, which is 120 days, we would get over 25,000 signatures. Like, so maybe I need to think bigger than just 5,000, but in any event, basically what happens when you get the minimum required amount is it will get tabled in the House of Commons, and he'll present our case, and basically the government has 60 days to respond either positively, and they would have to have stuff to back up negatively. And at this point, I think a lot of the negative stuff has already been brought out, so it's not, it's negligible considering the positive impact. And at the end of the day, like, this isn't just about commerce, and it's not just about protecting kids. It's also about, I think, including the unregulated market into the regulated market, or eliminating the unregulated market. But I think it needs to be folded in, and this is a step in the direction to get unregulated operators into the regulated market. And that is equally a priority to the government in this whole legalization. So I think there's a lot of support that's going to come from it, and definitely a lot of letters of recommendation.
Good.
Like, it's not perfect.
No,
but we have to go for progress. Like, we have to move the needle a little bit. It already moved a little bit with the drink equivalencies. That makes sense. Does that solve everything? Of course not. But it's more logical.
As there was one guy who commented on the post on LinkedIn, his suggestion was for them to allow the amount of cannabis that we could actually purchase to increase that. Like right now we're only at 30 grams or equivalency.
Yes.
To allow people to buy more than that instead of buying those small amounts. I look at that as, partially helpful, but I don't see it completely helpful, because the majority of the people who I'm seeing requesting any changes are requesting an increase in the milligrams versus an increase in the quantity that you can purchase. Mind you, there are some that are doing that.
That's how many people are going to go in and buy any more than 1 ounce at a time when they're $200?
That's what I was just about
to
say.
There's no deals. Like, you can't go in and buy a quarter pound for $300 or $250 like you can on the unregulated market, right? Where you'd have to pay your $200 plus the taxes on that, right?
That's the whole thing.
It comes down to affordability when it comes right down to it. Well, that's exactly why the government doesn't look at it being any benefit to anybody to increasing the levels of what we can have.
But now, so when I was pitching this petition to Patrick Weiler, my 3 big asks were the edibles, reducing excise tax, and increasing or eliminating an arbitrary ruling amount of 30 grams. Why? Because it's arbitrary. And the only thing that should limit what someone can buy is whatever's in their pocket. And to be clear, this is I would say, like, a pretty niche customer who's buying, but it could be somebody trying to buy an ounce plus drinks or an ounce
Yeah.
and some hash or whatever, and it sets
They
them right
can,
over.
and they do. And
Yeah,
the store
and that's
do.
what that example was talking about. Someone wants to go in and buy some beverages and buy some of this and buy
They
some of
do.
that.
They just do two different
And
transactions.
that's
Well,
great.
yeah, so they,
but
and
you
that's
don't,
just
you know,
it. So people are just doing, two separate transactions or coming in with their husband, and that's fine, but that's not the spirit of the law that as it was written. They think that an adult needs to leave with no more than 30 grams in the car or whatever.
I think, but there's no storage limits, which is ridiculous. It makes no sense at all. So if you point out the fact there's no storage limits on how much you can keep in your home, you're getting the fact that you can take 30 grams out of the store at a time. They don't limit on how many times you return back to the store, which is ridiculous too.
And we don't have to track it as retailers
No,
either.
there's
So I
nothing.
guess-
You don't
so-
nothing.
So I go in, buy an ounce, go out, put it in the trunk of my car, come
You don't
back
even have
in.
to do that. You don't even have to do that. You can sit at the store and buy them simultaneously. They just do them in
I'm
separate.
looking at it.
Not
Is
us.
that,
No.
They
Not for
absolutely.
us. No,
No,
like the AGCO needs to see them leave.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Out here, like it's no problem. I can go into the store here, buy an ounce of weed. I can buy 5 vape pens. I can buy another ounce of weed.
Oh.
It's all separate transactions, and I can buy joints. I can walk out of there with whatever I want, as long as it's all separate transactions.
Because then at that point your possession limit when you walk out the store is greater than the 30 grams that you're allowed.
Exactly.
Yes.
But that's not my job as a
Correct.
retailer to police that.
Nope, it's not. And if I put it in my trunk and I do everything right and get home without being caught, then that's and then I've got no storage limit at home. So
But you should not have to take that
then
risk.
it's legal.
Yeah,
What was that,
you shouldn't
Joey?
have to take that risk the whole way home. You don't know if somebody's going to hit you, and you just for you wanting to stock up. Like, what if you live away from town or whatever your reasoning is?
Exactly.
You shouldn't be punished for that, and you shouldn't be at risk for that. So
I agree 100%. Yeah,
that's one that just is a dumb, arbitrary rule that needs to go. Like, it's just stupid. And then, of course, the excise tax needs to be revisited, of course.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they charge a 20% vape tax out here on top in British Columbia. So you pay your GST and your PST, and then if you buy vapes, you pay another 20% vape tax in British
That's
Columbia.
crazy.
Yeah. So vape is $99 and it ends up costing you $50 because
Tamara's in British Columbia, in case you weren't aware of that. So.
I went to BC hoping to be like inspired, but I was really actually disheartened to see like the way that the system works out there. I don't like that the government has its own store in the most high traffic neighborhood there is, and like, why is that not a private store? It's just I'm obviously biased, but
yeah, they've eliminated the whole like micro to LBD to store now though. So the micro craft can actually go directly to the store and take their stuff to the stores directly without having to go through the LBD, which is helpful. But other than that, like I said, I don't work in the industry at all. I work at a grocery store. I totally retired and I just do my show and just kind of like, and do some other stuff in the background when it comes to like policies and stuff like that. But other than that, like I don't, I don't do anything because I've got a criminal record. And when the first stores and stuff came out, I couldn't be employed because of my possession charges and because of my trafficking charge.
That's absurd.
So I'm not ill. That's why I was not able to go into the industry.
Now.
And now I could if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's the thing. We guarantee interviews to anybody who has a prior conviction for cannabis or any drugs, and so it's something that we're really upfront about. And it's I can't guarantee someone a job, but I can definitely guarantee them a shot at a job, like over anything else. It doesn't matter what your other industry was.
You take a serve it right or whatever it is, sell it right. It's called out here, which is like same as serve it right to sell alcohol, to sell cannabis. You have the same Canada Pro sell or something in Ontario too, right?
Right, can sell. Yeah.
They don't ask you to have a criminal record when you take that. But again, like I said, I've just kind of like never. I just I don't know. I don't really want. It's almost like a slap in the face when I've got a trafficking charge for 4 grams of the mail to go stand behind a counter for minimum wage.
That's another part of it entirely. And there's Another thing that we are working on at NORML is creating a program that recognizes employers that practice better than just minimum wage and shitty treatment of bud tenders, et cetera, et cetera. We want to recognize like retailers and employers, LPs, whoever, who are good employers so that people within our industry actually want to be in this industry and are not completely burnt out by it and exhausted from legalization. Like that is the case with all of us. Anybody who went through it and had something, a horse in the race, that it's been a lot of burnout.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot involved in getting things set up and running and dealing with the bureaucracy and the whole bit. But it's about the hour. Time for us to take a break, and we'll continue into that discussion when we get back. You're watching the Pace Radio Show. We are live here with our guest Jennawae Cavion. How did I do?
Awesome, Al. Awesome.
All right, we're live and we're going to commercial break. We'll be back shortly.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you think of the number of unique products developed in the fields, kitchens, and labs at Legacy 420, it's hard to think that one stands out above the rest. But tell that to the thousands of people who have tried this amazing breakthrough product.
This is our Sacred Salve. This is actually our extra strength. It comes in 5 different strengths. It's all natural, all organic. It typically works within 10 to 15 minutes of putting it on. It's good for arthritis, it's good for inflammation, any kind of pain. We're very proud of it.
Sacred Salve, so easy to apply, along with soothing relief. To select a strength that's right for you, come in and talk to your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Pace Radio Network, by patients, for patients, and for those who want to know.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com.
Let's share Pace everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Watching the Pace Radio Show, and we're back with our guest, Jennawae Cavion.
Third time's a charm.
All right. I've had this problem since I started speaking. I actually spent a lot of time in speech therapy, just so everybody knows. But
listen, it literally nobody usually like it's like 1% of people get my name right on the first shot. So don't worry.
Okay.
Like 50% get it right by the second shot, though. Al, come on.
Oh.
Just joking.
Now we're talking a bit about burnout before the break, but I wanted to come back to that petition again. Where is it available? So everybody knows, because we haven't touched on that yet.
Yeah, so we are putting it all through our socials. So there's a NORML Canada social media. There's a link for it there. There's a link on our website, normal-canada.org. My other websites, calyxandtrichomes.com has a link for it as well as my Calyx and Trichomes social media. So like at Calyx Trichomes on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and on Facebook as well.
The X Twitter.
Yeah,
that's what it is. There it is on your website there on NORML Canada.
Yes.
You can see here, it's right at the top. Nobody can miss it. It's very easy to find. And really, all people have to do is just click on it, right?
Yep. Just click on it. And it'll take you to the government's website, which basically you just have to put your name, your province, I think maybe your phone number, and then your email. I think it's either or maybe both. But anyways, they're not going to call you. Don't worry. It's just to verify that you're a real person. And then you'll get an email to confirm. And once you confirm, your name is signed. So it's fill out your information in a one-step process. Takes like under 20 seconds.
Right.
It didn't take me long. I went and did it, and it didn't take very long whatsoever. Like you say, you just put your personal information in there, and it creates electronic signature for them to know that you've signed this petition.
And I think it's really important too that people come out in favor of anything that progresses the Cannabis Act. You know, It's not just this, it's also the other, pain points within legalization. Like any forward progress, like it's, we have to aim for progress and not perfection. It's always going to be something that we need to tweak a little bit. And this is why sort of activism now more than ever is important, because there is an attitude of like, hey, we gave you what you wanted. We gave you legalization. Now what do you want? So it's not easy to get the buy-in. So it's really important that we show up together and that we all support everybody's initiatives, as long as it's ultimately making the industry better. Because, the drinks, this is the perfect example. Like everybody's, the drink market was such a small market. So figuring out that nuance and getting that change, so that which was completely logical to edit the limit, made total sense, because it's just not logical based on how inebriated or intoxicated or how much you're going to absorb. Like 2 milligrams is not equal to 4 grams of cannabis. That's crazy. That's like suggesting it's the same as like hash, and it's just not. So that made sense, but it doesn't really affect a lot of people. So I can understand that there wasn't a lot of excitement, but what it opens the door for is us to be able to ask for this and say like, hey, remember how you increase you fix the drinks? Here's another little stupid thing that makes a little bit more sense. And by the way, I think that the spirit of the law was misunderstood when they chose 10 milligrams, because if you go to other places, other regulated states, whatever, the suggested serving size is 10 milligrams, but they can allow more servings per package. And I think that's where they just stopped listening, with suggested serving size. So I think that just somebody made a mistake there. Like it's just a mistake. And, if we can move forward with this, then we can start asking, to remove the limit. And then if we can remove the limit and hopefully at the same time get a little bit of excise tax reform, we'll be on the right track to sort of be able to progressively up things. Then we can start asking for 250 milligrams. Then we can start to ask for, I doubt we're a long way from this, but cannabis being treated at least as fairly as alcohol is, but we're very far from that because
big time.
We're way
what if
far.
What if they turned around and said, "Oh, alcohol, in order to reduce impaired driving and deaths caused by impaired driving, we're going to reduce the amount of alcohol content down to 2% instead of 5% in beer or 40% in hard liquors.
I think
just
that
consume more."
Literally
That's
die.
basically what they're telling.
Yeah.
Just
there's
consume more. That's all.
Absolutely. It's not a lot more. Like 100 milligrams to prohibitionists and people that fought for 10 milligrams. Some people didn't want edibles at all. And so for them, even 10 was a huge concession.
Yeah.
So for us to ask for 10 times that is just crazy to them. But meanwhile, like we said, there's a ton of patients that see like it needs to be 10 times more than that, so.
Yeah, well, I know that the National Cannabis Survey that the federal government does every year, for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been hovering around 50% of the people who do this survey are patients and they use the stores, they access the stores.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And we're not even allowed to talk about medical cannabis
in
stores. And exactly. To be fair, I don't think that the 20-year-olds that like to have a good time are necessarily qualified for that, but this would also be a great opportunity to fold the compassion industry into the regulated industry, where people could go for that specialized care. Like, you're right.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a patient, that doesn't make me qualified to run a compassion club.
No, but education, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much experience by so many other people that have been involved in the legacy industry for so many years. That information and education should be being used and utilized rather than being shuffled under the rug and stuffing their pockets with cash.
Yeah, you're totally right.
You got Ted and everybody out there at the VCBC, fighting things in court and trying to get changes, and they've got doctors, they've got people who've got lots of experience and knowledge, to allow them to be able to set something up, whether it's inside an existing retail store, sort of like when you go to the Walmart or any other store, say you can go in and there's a pharmacy section in there, and you can go in and pick up your drugs inside. Like even inside Guardian Drugs, you walk by all the makeup or all the chips or whatever, and the counters at the back.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
1,000%.
Work with them.
I mean, there's progress to be made, but the other side of activism is that money talks, and there's some like if you look at who's like on the docket to lobby, you'll see that Loblaws is lobbying to have cannabis treated the same as alcohol. Now, I wonder why Loblaws would want the same thing. I wonder what the deal is there. Like, maybe
and they put it in their stores. Because
of course.
Ontario, right? Because Ontario, like in British Columbia, you can't buy liquor in the grocery store. Like
you can't do it in Ontario either. No.
Right? Our liquor stores close at 11 o'clock at night.
We can't do the grocery stores, but we can go to Walmart in Belleville, walk past the groceries to go to the alcohol section.
Yeah. And this is the funniest thing with BC too. Like in Campbellford, we have a liquor store that's a BC liquor store, and they didn't want to put liquor and cannabis together, but there's the BC liquor store, there's a pizza joint, and then there's the BC cannabis store.
It's really dumb.
That
is really dumb.
Right?
Now, I will say, of all of the government-owned stores that I've seen on, like, I've been to PEI, I've seen Nova Scotia, and I've seen the ones in BC, and I will say the ones in BC are the nicest of the ones I've seen so far. for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's nice and clean. It's all black and white, and they're all, nicely set up and everything. We have some pretty nice parts. Like we've literally got more pot stores in Cranbrook with a population of 20,000 people than we do liquor stores.
Oh my god.
We have like 12.
That's a lot. That's a lot. In Kingston, I think technically we're up to 19. And we have like almost 170,000. So
and
like
21,000 population. We got
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got two stores in the town I live in, and
Yeah,
we have a we got a population of about 1,200 people, I guess.
But you guys were late to sign on, weren't you?
Well, I've moved from that town. I moved down the street. I moved out at Marmora. It was Marmora and Lake. They had opted out, but I moved down Highway 7 to Havelock.
Oh, okay, nice.
It had nothing to do with the fact that Marmora had opted out, but yes,
it just
Marmora
worked
had
out that way.
Yeah, but that was a closed-minded bunch of people. But at the end of the day, we don't get tax dollars then.
Yeah, I spent a lot of that time, advocating change. I attended all the meetings that I was aware of when it came to town council, public meetings, all that stuff. Kept it going. Some people got upset at me, and sometimes I give it a little bit of a break, but it always kept it discussion. So at the last election that was held, which would be October 2022,
right.
One of the first meetings that they held, the new council, the mayor put a motion through to allow the stores, and it went through 4-1. So because there was 5 people on council, and the one that voted against it was the only holdover from all those who objected the other times. So that person never changed their mind.
Well, I mean, that is dumb, and who knows why, but.
And the thing is they had a local person, a local tax-paying landowner wanting to put a store in the town, and they said no. And now we've got 1,700 stores in Ontario. Who's going to want to put one in a little town? We had somebody who was interested. They were local, but
that's really disappointing and really dumb. And honestly, in the whole opt-in phase, like that was just like the most stressful, like horrifying time. And I volunteered like locally a lot to try to understand what each of the council people's position was on cannabis retail. Whoops.
Oh.
Lost you.
We can still see you. You're good.
So in that time, I was worried, but they all voted in unanimously. So that was, thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, just because Kingston's as big as you are, like look at Mississauga. They just finally opted in.
That was the dumbest thing. And by the way, that's something to note. Bonnie Crombie, who's running for the provincial Liberal leadership, she's running against Nathaniel Erskine Smith, who is very pro-cannabis, and he was very collaborative on this whole project as well. And he's the one who pointed me towards MP Patrick Weiler because he's running for this leadership. He wanted him to move it forward. Anyhow, he's been a longtime supporter of NORML. Very bizarrely, he went to Queens, so he was in town for like a community stop event, and we were talking about it. Anyways, that's how I know there's a lot of support for it, but I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah, well, the fact that as you were talking, Mississauga, as I mentioned, Mississauga had opted out.
She's running against him.
Yeah, and
they opted out.
They opted out, and now, well, she's still the mayor, or has she stepped aside while she runs for legal?
No,
like, I'm just thinking, you're still mayor. but they've opted in now.
Sorry, my dog just ran down the stairs
Oh.
and slipped at the bottom.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he was just excited to see me, I think.
Yeah.
He only fell down 2 stairs. Buddy.
He's no small dog.
No, he's a Great Dane.
Great Dane.
Yeah.
I've always seen you with Great Danes.
we always have them. It's they're just the biggest, dumbest dogs, so that's why we like them. And honestly, customers love them too. They always think, come here, buddy. They always think that it's one or the other. He's gonna make an appearance. Here, look, come on, come here. Anyways, so he just got home from work actually. So anyways, Bonnie Crombie, she was against. She voted twice against the opting in, and then finally on the third run, I think they just opted in, but like she was anti-cannabis the first 2 goes at it.
Yeah, that sounds a little scary. Like I was really surprised. Like I know, like when legalization came in, the existing Liberal government at the time talked about 25 stores in the province.
Yeah.
You know, the PCs came in, they went with the open market, unlimited amount of stores, and here we have half of them. It's all in Canada. It's all here in Ontario.
Yeah, there are a lot of stores in Ontario, and a lot of them are suffering. This is sort of like the downside of an open market. And this is also the case in Alberta, and it's also the case. Actually, it's all the case in every province. The fact of the matter is, retail is still retail.
Well, and it's oversaturation, right? And the thing is, capitalism, they're going to allow people to open as many stores, and the strongest ones will survive. And
that is what it is. Like that is what we asked for.
Yeah.
And they don't they don't determine the amount of pizza stores or convenience stores are going to be in the neighborhood.
Restaurants.
They can't regulate how many stores can go into a municipality. They can put a cap on it though. They can put a bylaw cap because that's what they discussed, because they actually had a big city council meeting here about whether they were going to opt in and how many stores they were going to allow. So that when they opted in, they capped it at so many stores for population purpose. Like I said, we have 12 for our population now, which is ridiculous. But anyway, they're just some of them are doing really well and some of them aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I'm in a very privileged position. Our stores do very well. One of them is one of the top stores in the province, and we have always been in a privileged position.
It'll be your customer service. It'll be that bottom end. There's
a lot.
And the product that you're bringing in and how your store presents, because there are stores here that I've gone to, and it takes one snotty day with one snotty bud tender for me to go, I'm not coming back here.
Oh yeah, I mean, everybody has a bad day, and that sucks. But when we're all selling the exact same thing, you have to differentiate yourself one way or another. And we've been in the community for a long time, I think we have a really strong customer base from experience. But it's also experience. We have retail experience, and we know sort of who we need to reach, I guess. And I think that a lot of people just saw dollar signs and unfortunately, maybe made some bad decisions and just don't have the experience to sort of, my first year of retail was tough too.
And you're coming already, you had established business with Kingston 420 before you made the change.
Yeah, and that was on our lawyer's recommendation, just because we were rated at 420 Kingston for our seeds. So we had to have a separate location because we didn't know what was going to happen in Ontario. We knew that we would be allowed to apply, but we didn't know what would be allowed. So we created a fully separate brand, which was Calyx Trichomes, which was decided, because when we looked at other laws of like Alberta that already had retail running, there was nothing that was prohibiting that. Everything else seemed like there's just no way that they can give us a hard time about anatomical names on the actual cannabis plant. That was the only thing that we knew that they couldn't give us a hard time about. So it's it's been criticized a lot because it's a really long email address. And people can't pronounce it, but it isn't, like, we knew that wouldn't really matter because people, it differentiates us, and it's a mouthful, but
well, yeah, well, maybe not everybody would know that those are parts of the plants or whatever, but it's not a derogatory name.
No, and that was another thing too. We wanted to, for anybody who might be not into cannabis, we did, this is not a name that would even register with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we've got about 4 minutes before we go to a break. Now, just quickly before we go to that, because I want to get into something after that. So what I want to go to is, as I've mentioned in some of my posts, when we talk about this milligrammage, and they only allow you so much to take out of the store, so on and so forth. As the article that was Dave, I think it was Dave Brown wrote that in StratCan about the capsules, and the fact that you can go in. Like, I went in and talked to the girl here at one of the stores here in Havelock, and found out that I could walk out of there with 1,500 milligrams of THC.
Absolutely.
Whereas if I went in there and bought a cookie, I was done. Yep.
Yeah. It's you can walk out with a lot more. The equivalency, especially in capsule form or oil form, is a lot higher than you think, and that's already a strong dose. I mean, that's a high dose, and it's definitely, I think that it's, for whatever reason, I think that when Jolts got pulled from the market, people were more open to trying capsules. But I will say, before that, it was like pulling teeth to get people to try capsules, because it just isn't a very sexy product.
Correct.
But I love
it's swallowing a capsule. It's like taking drugs or medicine. Yeah. It's not like a nice gummy or whatever edible that you have. Enjoy that. Yeah.
Like, I've got real, like, delicious edibles on the market. I mean, that's the only thing, like little Rolos. Yeah. Like, they're pretty good. Like, they taste really good. Really? So I understand that people want to, like, have a treat as well, but, like, with capsules, you can just make anything your treat.
Well, yeah. Well, why not just take your capsules and then just go have a regular gummy?
Yeah, exactly. So that's an option as well. And that's, the argument on the other side, why do adults need it? But the fact of the matter is, capsules have not been appealing to a lot of people, and the capsule sales have gone up a little bit, but it's still not hitting the mass appeal that gummies do, plain and simple. And the reason why is because it's, like you were saying, it's less of a drug feeling. Like, it doesn't feel like you're having a drug. Like,
it's recreational, right?
It's exactly, you're having fun.
Taking a pill, taking a capsule feels like you're taking a capsule, a pill.
Exactly.
That's really appealing. People that smoke and use cannabis aren't really leaning towards taking caps. Like, that's why we don't take pills. We don't like them.
It's not fun. That's a medical thing for a lot of people. And there's also people who are in recovery that have a problem with feeling like they're taking pills. Like, and I can appreciate that, especially in the middle of an opioid crisis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, when I read that story and I saw the 10 milligrams per capsule, and then it said 15 capsules in the container. I said, well, that's 150 milligrams right in the container. And then, so I said to the bud tender, how many of these can I buy in one shot? And she says, well, she looks at the screen. She says, this is equivalent to 2.8 grams of cannabis. So I said, oh, so I can buy 10 of them. And she says, yeah. Yeah. Wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
Right,
really
it's-
dumb, and it's fine. Like, that's great. The other great thing about capsules is they're calorie free, but it's not a format. It's not a popular format unless you really are getting down to business. Like that.
Look at it as a harm reduction alternative, because then you're not eating all that chemicals and sugar stuff that's in
I mean, it would be better for somebody with cancer to be taking a capsule than candy.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Right?
1,000%.
Or people don't want to put the oil in their mouth, which I understand because it's gross, right? So if it's the same, RSO in that capsule, that would be the easiest way for a cancer patient to take that capsule, rather than taking it in your mouth because you don't like the taste of it, right? It's the same with psilocybin caps. A lot of people don't like the taste of chewing psilocybin, so putting it in a cap and shoving it down your throat to consume is way easier than having to chew that, So again,
I guess you don't like the taste of.
All right.
I don't like it.
It wrapped in chocolate, baby.
Oh.
I think that it's like I think the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. So.
Right?
All right, ladies. Time for us to take another commercial break. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. You're watching the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at paceradio.net and cbgtv.com.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have 2 lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the Pace Radio Show, and we are live here with our guest, Jennawae Cavion of NORML Canada and Calyx and Trichomes in Kingston. It's an Ontario retail cannabis store. NORML. As far as, we don't hear, lots about NORML all the time. Members, volunteers, anything like that?
Yes. Yeah. So, we are a volunteer board group. So none of us are paid for any of our work. So we need other people that are okay with also working for free, but also coming from the heart. There's a lot of, you're paid in other ways because, there's a lot of like cool connections that you can make and a lot of interesting experience and
and knowing the fact that you're helping to make changes in the laws of cannabis in Canada.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's a real source of pride for all of us to be able to make a positive impact. And I feel like the group that we have right now, and we just brought a few more board members on. It's really diverse. We're trying to attack it from all angles because, I can remember hearing about, the beer lobby trying to lobby for things. And I'm like, I don't drink beer. I don't care. So, but I think that there's a lot of people who use cannabis and who can see the obvious disparities between the two. So I think it's a great time to volunteer and join the group. And, we also have memberships available. They're only $4.20. And really that just goes towards keeping the bank account open. And, we're trying to rally enough members so that we can actually be approaching politicians as a trade organization and a member group where people are, equally passionate, but maybe don't have all the energy to volunteer every month with us. And then, and volunteers for everything from social media stuff and, maybe working at events because we from time to time get booths donated to us to help spread the word. So there's a lot that can be done and we're trying our best to get to everything, but this is why we need volunteers because there's only energy is finite and we all have full-time jobs otherwise. Jack Lloyd is a lawyer. He's our president. And he's been trying to get home grows in provinces where it's not allowed. So that's been a really big project for him. Sarah Mills, she is, she's actually on mat leave right now, but she's a real powerhouse of she is somebody who gets things done. And actually she's the one who, in our group, put the actual verbiage together for the petition. And submitted it. So that was she's amazing and she's on mat leave, so it's shocking that she's getting as much done right now as she can. And then we've also got Derek Mascarenas, who's a consultant. He's sort of on a different continent right now, so but he's also been like working at events and networking and trying to spread the good word and get people to help us out, because we need a couple of hands. So, and then we have a few new board members who are specializing in sort of social media and graphic design. So we have some cool things sort of cooking.
Things on the go. Yeah. I was looking at your coming events, the events tab, and I seen that you did something there in April. You were at some.
Yeah. What were we at in April?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up.
I can't remember, but that needs to be updated. That's another. That's
sure.
another thing.
It was a dinner and dance gala in Etobicoke.
Oh yeah, that was a retailer event. We somebody advertised, like that was like a trade group that had advertised that they wanted us to put it in their community calendar. Okay. So yeah, that's actually more of a community calendar. That's for anybody who wants to put anything cannabis related out there, but we sort of need to revamp that area on the website a little bit.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's you got new people coming on board. And new people usually take on, different
Hopefully
things.
Something.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's
Hopefully
the thing.
A little bit off the plate.
If you're volunteering, there's no use volunteering not doing anything. Why even volunteer?
That's a good point. And
like just
honestly, we are always like, I'm always afraid of like burning people out and overdoing it. And I tend to like not give. I tend to underload, I think, in some ways. Like, I just don't want to. It's just like good help is so hard to find. And if you lose like a great employee or a great colleague, or a great volunteer or whatever it may be, like, it's really hard to recover from that. So I just try my best to like retain as much as possible. And that usually leads to me underassigning things.
Yes. And sometimes we put too much on ourselves, and some people say, "Well, give me something to do," No.
Yeah, no, and honestly, a lot of these people that are joining the board, they reached out to us. They wanted to be involved, and that's really important because you can't. It's a volunteer board. Like you have to just want to do well. Like you just want to improve things. You want to see some improvement. And also take joy in actually like the possibility of making a difference. Like that's, it's a great feeling that we're doing something and we're galvanizing, the group, and hopefully something happens from this. But if it doesn't, well, I don't even want to think that way, but hopefully something happens from this.
It's been ongoing for 46 years. In all different forms and sizes, I would say. There's been some big names that I've seen at the top. There's been some names that maybe weren't as well known in the cannabis community, but it's still there. There's a reason why it's still there. People wanted to keep it going.
Yeah, no, it's Canada. The Canadian chapter of NORML is one of the few places, like, if you're in the US, each state has its own chapter, but we represent the whole of Canada, and we definitely need representation in other provinces as well, because it's really easy to get wrapped up in Ontario stuff, so having some representation in the prairies, Alberta, BC would be great, and especially the Maritimes. One of our new board members is in New Brunswick, so that's great. And I think another one may be in BC, but I have to double check. No, I think she's actually in the GTA, so that's another one in the GTA.
It'd be nice to have representation all across the country,
especially Quebec. Quebec is. It's a big province, and their legalization is a mess.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what? Don't you like the apricots for?
No. Oh my goodness, their edible situation, their vape situation. We're in Kingston, so we're pretty close to Quebec, and like specifically where we are in Kingston, we're on the military base in one of our stores. So we get a lot of people from Quebec, and they stock up on stuff that they just can't get there. So like edibles, extracts, vapes, I think they can't get there. Like
vapes, anything edible really, because like I said, it's
like beets and cauliflower and
yeah, like they
I
said
don't even
set it up.
want
They set it up so the kids wouldn't be attracted to it. Well, that's all you have to do is put out some of those rotten vegetables.
Yeah, like it's can't.
Loretta's in Montreal, and she says it's a nightmare living there. She's been working for a licensed producer in Montreal, and even that's been a bit of a nightmare for her. But yeah, so Montreal's got you can only have one person in the store at a time or something. So
you know, the leaf on the shirt. There's just so many.
Yeah,
it's just nonsense. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to have some representation there as well. And you know, I went to PEI in New Brunswick, so I'm glad we've got somebody in New Brunswick, because New Brunswick I had never been to before, and so I wasn't prepared for how sparsely populated it is. Like it is not. There's like only 775,000 people in the entire province, which is like, it's a pretty like decent sized province. So it was a lot of driving. And so when you would actually get to a cannabis store, like Cannabis New Brunswick, they were very sterile. I was surprised they had the selection that they did, but I mean, I just can't see how, anyways, it wasn't a great experience, and it didn't seem like anybody cared to, you know, make it a good experience.
Well, you know, there could be a normal fight down the road to help improve those things for the people in Quebec. If you get especially if you got a Quebec chapter of NORML.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. It's all the chapters would just be in the same NORML group, because you know, our population across the country is not very big compared to some of these states that have there's some states that have even multiple chapters, like, you know, based on geographic location. So it's like it's really tough to get people to be able to commit the time. Like post pandemic, I think a lot of people are really exhausted, and so I think we're getting to a place where there's more of a capacity for that, and people are starting to reach out a little bit more. But it's tough. It's really tough to find people that want to move it forward, because there's a lot of people that are happy with the way things are. You know, it's not everybody is an intense, you know, super deep cut user of cannabis. Like there's a lot of really new users, especially in an aging population. There's a lot of new users. So well,
I think the senior end is one of the larger growing ends of things, and that's where, like Tamara mentioned earlier on, you know, if you're a senior and you don't smoke, you got to be able to have an alternative.
Something.
Yeah. A lot of people quit smoking tobacco, right? Like that's always been a big thing with, you know, with the government lately too. Like they've raised the price of tobacco taxes so high that a package of cigarettes is like $25 to $30. So a lot of people have quit smoking because of the affordability of it to begin with, and you know, all the health risks and all these, you know, fear mongering things about tobacco, which are true. You know, tobacco does cause cancer. It's, you know, carcinogenic, whatever. So people have quit smoking. So if you're not smoking cigarettes or tobacco, I really don't, you know, like I'm not going to say, hey man, pick up a doobie. Like I tell them vaping would probably be a better option for them if they're going to do, you know, they don't want to do edibles. So I do suggest vaping sometimes, but again, we'll find that vaping's not a better alternative all the way around either, right?
I don't think it is. Like, you know, in spite of its popularity, it's probably our most second popular category. You know, personally, it's not my faves, and I don't find them very effective. I find them effective like in a placebo way. Like I just got off an airplane and I need something right now sort of way. Like it's not like what
I use mine for work more than anything because I can do it at work, and then it just seems maybe it is a placebo. Maybe it's just the fact that it's something in my hand.
Yeah.
But I use it a lot at work because I can, right?
Yeah, and that's the same. Yeah, same. And it's, you don't have to worry about the smell. So like I see a lot of benefits, but like I'm not getting stoned from it, like ever, like like at all.
I found one that ended up, the cartridge seemed to, as if something got sticky on the bottom. I don't know whether it leaked or something got sticky on the bottom, it ended up pulled the contact right out of a brand new battery. I had a wire hanging out in the whole bit.
That's crazy. And that's so like,
and that's it all apart too. Like you're not getting a full spectrum oil in any of those vape pens.
And we also don't know what you're
getting
like, CBD in them,
right? And they got flavors in them too.
Yeah, and that's so I don't know. I have some concerns in the same way that I have like Juul concerns. Do you know what I mean? Like it's I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I don't love them for myself. I don't find they get me stoned. And cannabis is one thing. Dried cannabis is one thing. Vaping dry cannabis is one thing. That's fully different. Mm-hmm. But I am reserved on vapes. I'm holding my thoughts on vapes because we need to see some like long-term studies of vape users over a specific period of time. Like cannabis has enough data to show like there's been no deaths, but I would hate to find some sort of like vape concern similar to Juul's in cannabis vapes, and that can happen. And I know that there's like a vitamin E thing and whatever, but botanical terpenes, I don't know if we should be inhaling those the same way that we do. And there's who knows, there's so many different things, the cartridges themselves. And honestly, it's the thing that we get the most returns for because of malfunctioning, like what you're saying, like a leaky card is very common. And we can make a claim with the OCS for it, so it's no big deal, but like they break a lot. Like we sell a lot of them, but it's the one thing you get returns on.
I've just been sort of searching for something that, because I grow my own, I make my own raws and all that stuff. So going to the store for me is to be able to get something that I don't get myself, just something to try something else, And I've done that with the vape pens. I've done that with the beverages, trying to find something that's not carbonated and it's not iced tea.
There's some
that I can drink. I tried some lemonade, and it wasn't really. I only tried one, but it wasn't really.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I did actually. I took a couple of drinks of it, and then I poured it down the drain because I just Yeah, I know.
My faves, there's a couple good ones, but they're carbonated.
And I can't. That's the problem for me because of my Crohn's. I can't drink carbonated. It creates gas in the bowel. Painful. So I stay away from them. So, but I've got something that I use now, and I've been plugging along.
I'm with you. Because I don't make my own extracts, so I do like to try the new extracts, but honestly, the extracts on the legal market are basically stuck in 2014. Like there really is, the selection's low, and that goes back to the excise issue because it's like it's hard to make money off of extracts, so they need to address that because it's like really out of proportion. And the edibles, because I am a shitty edible cook. I make the worst. If you want to taste the worst edibles of your life, come over to my kitchen where I will make you the grossest thing you've ever had. It's just, it doesn't matter what I try. I can taste it right now. I hate it.
God, the first cookies I made for myself, I had one and I went and threw up. The taste.
They're disgusting.
Horrid.
It's an art.
They got better.
To get some good ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All
And
right.
it's sort of science.
And now these days, I'm sure that maybe they're made with distillate, so you don't get that chlorophyll taste or whatever. However they're
Whatever
doing
it
it now.
is.
I
I one time made them out of like
I
made them out of like AVB, thinking like, oh, like it'll take the green taste out of it. It just gave it an AVB. It was so bad. It is the worst. And it's like obviously the recipe, it's also me, but like
no, that would be like almost like a rancid green.
It was disgusting. It was the grossest thing. Not for me. I'll just buy the edibles. So yeah, for me, I want stronger, and it's also stronger drinks too. So like that, it extends to that as well. So there's and just on the commercial break, I saw that Legacy 420 on the Mohawk territory, they were advertising like 10, 25, and 60 milligram drinks, and that's like the perfect example of like tell me there's they're making them.
Yeah.
People are buying them.
Oh,
There's a market for it.
There is a market for it right there, and there's no reason why they do them in different strengths. And really, even in the legal market, there are different strengths. Just the numbers are so low.
Yeah, and there needs to be too. Like, if I'm being honest, like my best friend and her husband are super like occasional users. Like they absolutely, like one little CBD joint and she is wrecked for the night. Like her and her husband split a gummy. Like this is how low their tolerance is.
Wow.
But I mean, so there are people out there who really have a low tolerance, and that's fine. That's fine, but the majority of people, the majority of regular cannabis users, and the majority of the people who are still staying with unregulated producers are doing so because of the low edible limits. Like you can't only cater to low cannabis users. Like you just can't.
All right, ladies. I see that we've got very little time left. We got a show coming in right behind us here, so we have to end on time. So I'm gonna give you. I got about 2 minutes for you to do a shout out, if that, on that where people can find NORML as well as your retail stores.
Yeah, so if you can go to Twitter or X or whatever, it's all at NORML Canada. Our website is, and that's also on Instagram as well. Our website is normal-canada.org. And if you're in Kingston, stop into one of my stores. We own Calyx and Trichomes. We have 2 locations. It's just calyxandtrichomes.com and at Calyx Trichomes for most social media.
All right. Tamara, anything you want to say before we go?
No, thanks for coming on the show. It's good to, listen and hear that NORML's still up and kicking. And yeah, thanks for coming on. And other than that, not a heck of a lot. No.
It's always good to get together and have a chat. It's been a while since the two of us talked, so
I know.
Next time I come down to Kingston, I'll have to stop in and see. I'll go see our sponsors there at Limestone Hydroponics, and I'll come and see you at the store.
I was just there yesterday.
Were you? There you go.
More cocoa.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks to our sponsors, Legacy420.com, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, and the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Also, big thanks to our guest tonight, Jennawae Cavion. She's the executive director of NORML Canada and the owner of Calyx and Trichome. And thanks to our watchers and viewers for tuning in the program. Other than that, good night, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.